All right, y'all. It's another Robinson.
and Robinson.
We had one without my main man. Running back was working on the weekends with football and getting ready for the game. So we're back. Today we're going to be covering a little AFC wrap up as well as our midseason, how the Chiefs are doing, what we expect the rest of the way. And then he's going to go from a co-star to the star as we go and interview, breaking down Amani's senior season as well as how the Excelsior Tigers did, some of the other teams, and just how the season went as far as just a quick little breakdown. First, we'll jump into it with the AFC. We're looking at the standings right now. We got the Bills leading, tied with the Patriots, who surprised everybody getting back into it, winning five straight. Baltimore Ravens winning the game without Lamar, who had a surprise sickness. Obviously, the Bengals are in their back pocket. In the South, you got the Titans leading comfortably over the Colts, but the Colts winning three in a row themselves are starting to make a push. That defense, understanding, staying behind Jonathan Taylor, the running game, mixing in the play action, and Wentz keeping plays alive, not making as many knucklehead plays, keeping them in their back pocket. And the Chiefs surprised everybody from going worst to first in about 4 weeks, as well as getting a little more answers with this defense. We had some question marks at first as whether the defense was real because you had certain teams come and it wasn't. They weren't worried about the competition. Obviously, I agreed with it. When it came down to the Titans came in here. We took a bad loss, and that was when people were starting to wonder. People jumped off the train. They said, maybe those 2 years, and that's usually what happens to Super Bowl teams. They run into attrition. They run into having the same type of schemes. They're used to their division mates seeing them a couple times a year. Is now all the other good teams seeing them a couple times a year because you play them with a complex season. Then you end up usually playing in the playoffs, like we have the Bills, the Titans, and now the Ravens. We play them usually about twice a year, it seems like, including the Patriots. So turn things around with the Giants game that we won by three. Followed that up with a tough Packers game. Even though Aaron Rodgers was not there, it matters to me. The next two game over the Raiders and the Cowboys. What were your thoughts?
The Raiders game was really dominant. 41-14 win for us. I didn't really key into that game too much. I was busy that weekend, so I looked at the final score and I was pretty proud. I was like, maybe we're turning this around. So I was really happy with how that game came
But you
out.
had to give them a pass for all the Raiders had going on.
Yeah, and then the Cowboys game. I tuned into this one. I was watching it. This game, I liked what I saw, especially with the Cowboys offense coming in. They're supposed to be the highest scoring offense, so holding them to 9 points. I was happy with the defense, what the defense showed.
Especially getting some key people healthy. We'll get right back into that. Speaking of this offense and defense, this Chiefs team as a whole, I really like the way that obviously the offense hasn't been what we're used to in the past couple years, scoring 30, 40 points to even be involved with us. But they found another way. Teams are really keying in on Kelsey and Tyreek, which understandably they should. Both game breakers at their position, top three players, top five at their position, speaking Tyreek. And then you had the offensive line went through what it went through. You rebuild it. They're gelling, coming together. Obviously, with Creed Humphrey playing obviously some of the best center game that's going right now is important. Moving, getting more of the players back healthy as far as Frank Clark being healthy, Chris Jones being healthy, Willie Gay being healthy, the hitman coming back, solidifying that linebacker rotation, solidifying the secondary rotation with Fenton back there, and Tricarius Ford, who missed I think about 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks before he was back. Now he's actually man. Don't want to get into a sidebar, but we're gonna have to pay that guy because he's playing well. Anyway, getting to that first half on the offense, seeing what we've looked like the last couple weeks. Mahomes taking more checkdowns, not forcing as much. Obviously, he turned the ball over a couple times last week, including that terrible sack by Michael Parsons. What have you seen over these last 4 weeks? And go ahead and tell me what you expect going forward after this bye week to see from the Chiefs offense.
Yeah, early on, you touched on it earlier. Teams they were seeing us a lot, so they kind of figured out our scheme and our offense. And Patty Mahomes was kind of getting worried in the pocket, trying to look for that deep pass, and that's where we saw the interceptions come in. He was just trying to make things happen that weren't there. And then later on, what we see more recently, like you said, he's been taking the check downs. He's been cool and collected in the pocket, knowing we have the weapons. He's just got to find them and stay calm. And coming up in the next few weeks after the bye, I expect to see more polished play from both offense and defense. You had a week to kind of calm down, gather yourself after the good wins, look at what you need to do, and now you need to go out and execute.
Agreed, agreed. As we spoke about, this team has been gelling, especially the main thing we were worried about on defense. As we look at our upcoming schedule, we got flexed out over the Sunday night game, so we'll see Denver. Then we got the Raiders come back again, the Chargers, so we get back into our division games before we finish out with Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and then we play Denver again to finish out. Um, I really expect. I think Denver will be a tough game, just because of the defense element. I don't. I'm not really afraid of their offense. They kind of work like a lot of these teams do now. They have a two running back scheme with their little bit of thunder and lightning, and then they play action off of that as they don't have a bunch of game breakers down the field. Noah Fant, their tight end, supposed to be the best, but a lot of you Missouri fans with Albert not going to try his last name at the other tight end spot. So the offense is decent. It can hit you if you fall asleep, but I think we can get them if we can hold the defensive storm. The Raiders coming off that big win against the Cowboys. Hey, it matters that they were depleted against us, so maybe it matters that they were depleted against the Raiders. So we don't know what to really take from that game. It was actually a bounce back game from Raiders who had been playing bad. The Chargers, they've been kind of up and down. People have been playing Herbert similar to Mahomes with that two safeties back because they like to send their big receivers and Williams deep and with things like that and Allen. So I think he saw a little bit of adversity before he fixed it last week as well. Pittsburgh, I still like Denver. It's mostly a defensive team. What do you think about Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Denver to finish out?
Pittsburgh, like you said, we just got to worry about their defense. I'm not too worried about Big Ben and that offense. They got a big back in Najee Harris, obviously, but other than that, I'm not too afraid of Big slinging it around on us. I think our defense can hold that short pass. Cincinnati, of course, you got Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, but then that offensive line still isn't much. So with our front doing what they've been doing in the past few weeks, I feel like we can get after Joe Burrow, make him uncomfortable in there. And like you said, we played Denver for the last game of the season. We see them next week when we play again. So we'll really have to gauge that game against how we do next week. But like you said, defensive heavy team, two running back set. I like our odds against it. Not a explosive offense, but they can get up in you.
Okay. At 7-4, guys, I really can't see any more than maybe two losses, and I don't think we actually should not win out the way we've been playing lately, the way the defense has been playing lately. There is nobody on this board except for the Chargers, to me, unless you just absolutely play with your pants down against Cincinnati. There's nobody with the offensive firepower that should be able to beat us coming out. At the worst, though, maybe the Chargers win one of those games. Maybe we split with either Denver or Pittsburgh upsets us, but I do not expect more than 1 to 2 losses to finish out here. But just case scenario, they should win out. All right, moving into more personal deals. My man here, senior year, just finished his last season. The running back, some of the numbers I'll gloss over off the top of my head, around 950 yards rushing. I want to say about 13 touchdowns. You had about 30 something tackles on defense as you played 75 to 80% of the defensive snaps, if not more than that later on in the season. Mixing in some special teams play. I know there was a block field goal. I know there was a 60-yard return. There was a 200-yard game. There was so many highlights that came in this season. I want to start out with the season started out with adversity. You had made second team all conference, second team all district last year. You were coming expected big things. You really worked on your craft, fixed your explosion. What happened at the end Jamboree that really started off your season in a little bit of slump for them first 4 weeks?
Yeah, the first, I think I just want to say the sixth play, the Jamboree went out, ran a little off tackle play, got rolled up on, and ended up with a high ankle sprain that really slowed down the progression through those first weeks.
Now, although you were playing those games, explain to some of us laymen like what it's really like playing with a high ankle sprain, not just at your fullback technical position, but it's also a running back position. What was that like in those early games trying to deal with that?
It's very uncomfortable, like cutting and everything. Because when you play running back, you need to make those key cuts to get to that second level, and it's not as explosive. You don't have that. You don't have the full motion of your ankle, and you don't have the full power. You can't really push off it as much as you'd like.
Okay. Um, Getting into that, also once as that went, you're out there on offense and defense. Did you have any goals from yourself? Did you ever get down a little bit in those first 4 games, feeling like maybe the season was getting ahead of you? Maybe some of the highlights or things that you want to do a season that you wouldn't be able to get to them.
Yeah, those first four games, like you said, I didn't really play as much I'd like to because I really wanted to come out and explode this season and show what I could really do. But I kind of had to slow down a little bit, take time, make sure the ankle was all healed up right. So yeah, it was tough in the beginning, but like I said, I just knew I had to keep fighting to get back. And once I was 100%, I'd be able to show everybody what I was capable of.
And this wasn't just about Amani. This is about the Excelsior Springs Tigers itself. Lucas Shelton burst onto the scene. Now, you've got your ankle injury, but at the same time, you've got a running back who's showing a lot. He's got power, he's got speed, he was running hard. He came in there, gobbled your position up, and you went to more of a fullback, sharing, actually getting the third in carries behind Lucas and your quarterback. Where was your mindset then? How did you stay focused? How did you keep you had a 90-yard game here. You were able to get back into it as well, stay focused on defense. What was your focus in those games? How did you stay with it?
Well, obviously, I wanted to come out and have a big year, but then I realized that it can't be all me. So I realized I got to do what I can to help the team. And as long as we're winning games, I got to keep that mentality. It's all about the team, all about winning. So as long as we were winning games, I had to keep that mentality that my time's coming.
Okay. And unfortunately, just like you felt an injury, and football is a brutal sport. Lucas went down with a knee injury. Unfortunately, we really wish he still pushing for him. Did it come out as the best back in the league? Had that made it yet? We know
I'm not
Lucas
sure.
made first team all conference.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen if it came out yet. It might be coming out soon.
All right, but he took an injury, was out for the season. From there on out, just kind of go by, if you can go by in your head those last couple games as you finish with 100 yards straight. Talk about some of the progress that Excelsior Springs that you guys accomplished as a team. That I think was some benchmarks that you guys hadn't seen, that Excelsior hadn't seen in a while. Just kind of wrap up how that season went from your perspective, from how where Excelsior went as far as the playoffs and where you guys wanted to go, and just kind of how it went for those last couple games for you.
Yeah, so when I really started getting back into it was the week of Odessa, which, if you guys know anything about Missouri football, Odessa Class 3 champions for the past. Well, they were 2 years ago. They won the state. Then they had to forfeit because of COVID. So no one expected us to come in and win that game. They were on a 30 game winning streak, 30 straight. But we came in and we dominated them. It was 30. I want to say 36-13 or something like that, or maybe 20. But we came in and got it done. So that's when people started looking at us. They're like, if they can do this against one of the top teams, they might be something.
That Odessa game. Any highlights? Anything stand out in your mind from either an opponent or you in that game?
Yeah, that game, I remember I had a tough run. It was just right up the middle. And I carried them for about 6 yards to go into the half, and that's really what got our momentum going. They're like, guys, this is supposed to be one of the best defenses, and you guys are out there just bringing it to them. That game, I think I had like 100 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. So that game, we showed if we can compete with them, we can compete with anybody.
Okay.
And then moving on to the next week, I want to say was the Pleasant Hill game. That was my 200-yard rushing game. Pleasant Hill, we knew they were
200.
We knew they were a high-powered offense, no huddle, like to throw the quick passes, and they can get deep on you from time to time, but they're really looking for that check down, that quick pass. And me playing offense and defense, going out there against a no huddle, it really wore me down. But like I said, I just had to keep my head on. And now I got to keep out there and keep grinding for the team. We were up big on at halftime against them. I want to say it was 33-14 going into the half.
And
So
I want to sort after half they scored two straight.
hmm so they came close to coming up on us. The final score was 41-40. So that game turned around real quick. We were happy to squeeze out with a win on that team. Um, that game, the key. I know I had a run that went down the right side, broke I want to say two tackles, and then drugged like three people in the end zone. That really got the team pumped up. That's the player I remember from that game.
Okay.
And then moving on, that was our final regular season game. Finished off the season with a 200-yard rushing game. I was pretty happy about that.
That game in particular, I was at that game sitting there in that fourth quarter. Explain what you had to do or mentally how do you suck up as tired as you were as it looked that you were dragging a on that sideline. How do you focus to go back there and still give it what you have?
I just know I got to do it for my team. My team, they lean on me, obviously, because we run a triple option. So that fullback, we know if we can get people looking at me, that brings the option for a quarterback to pull it and get some yards. So I just know I got to go out there, and our coach says at least 4 yards. If you get 4 yards, it's a good game. So you just got to keep them legs churning and hope you get 4 yards.
Okay.
Then moving in, we got to the playoffs. We got the 3 seed. So we got a home field playoff game. We were really hoping for a bye week, but we had to score. We needed one more point to get that bye week to get the 2 seed, but we just didn't get it with a close game to Pleasant Hill. So we were at home versus Van Horn. Their running back was out till halftime. He had some stuff going on, but yeah, that team. It was a pretty good team, but we knew what we had to go in there and do. So I know that game, the play I remember, his second play of the game had, I want to say, a 60-yard rushing touchdown, and also had, like, later in the game, had a nice, like, 24-yard touchdown. So that game didn't have too many explosive plays, but that second play really set the tone for the game.
Okay. I want to touch on something in that game because I was pretty upset when it happened. As a father, I'm pretty upset still afterwards, but it's what we get into, what we try to explain, what I try to explain to people about the toughness of football players. Earlier in that game, you guys were in the red zone. I seen you hit the hole, and there was a fumble. What happened on that fumble?
Uh,
Did you take a certain hit?
I'm not too sure. I don't remember that fumble.
Okay, well, if unless I'm incorrect on that game, you took the hit and you kind of it kind of knocked you off temporarily. Is how you told me as you
Oh,
fumbled.
that was the Pleasant Hill game that happened.
That happens. That happens. That was a Pleasant Hill game. We won't worry about that. All right. Talking to you about when you do take a big hit though.
Uh-huh.
How do you feel? You took that big hit. You fumbled the ball. Why didn't you tell anybody about basically possibly being concussed? Like why? What mentality goes into that state of that? I can do this and I'm fine.
Yeah, it's all like I said. Football is a team game, so you gotta look to your teammates, and knowing that they look to me as a leader, I can't be out in one of the big game in our season like that, especially the final game in the regular season. You gotta mentally tell yourself that you're good. At the end of the night, you can go home, take a nice rest that you need. But I had to be in there for that game.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to St. Joe.
Okay, so St. Joe Lafayette, they were kind of like a Pleasant Hill team. They like passing the ball around. Their quarterback was more of a scrambler though. He was a lot more athletic than Pleasant Hill's quarterback. They had a small, quick, athletic running back, but they didn't have too many receiving threats, even though they liked throwing the ball. All of them just could kind of catch the ball if they were open.
A lot of drops in that game.
Yeah.
Before that game, I was privy to watch a little game film with you. You was over here. We were looking at it. My assessment going into that is I was worried about them on offense. As you pointed out, the quarterback, they do pass the ball. He can move. I thought he actually had a live arm despite them dropping a lot of passes. And I did notice they had a shifty running back. But unlike your first playoff game, I didn't see a lot of defense that I was worried about. Was that kind of the correct assessment once you got out there? Did you notice that yourself when you guys were game planning? Kind of break down what you saw offensively, or was I correct about the way that team was designed?
Yeah, our coaches told us before they like scoring points, so they put all their playmakers on offense and hope that they can outscore you. So we knew we were going to be able to do what we wanted on their defense. It was just all about shutting out their offense that game. And when we had the start that we wanted, we went down. We scored on the. I think we got the ball on the first possession. We went down, scored. And then we went for an onside kick. We recovered that, scored again, and then we went for the onside kick again, recovered that, scored again. So it was 21-0. I want to say less than 2 minutes into the game. It was a really quick start for us, and then it got a little muddy. I think they might have scored two times, so it was like 21-14, or they may have scored once. But then after that, we shut them out for the rest of the game, and our offense got back on track. So that was a big win for us, especially since that team has caused us a lot of pain in the playoffs in previous years. I know before I was there, they lost to them in the playoffs at home, and the year after that, they lost to them again. But we've had their number for the past few years. So we wanted to show that we could still get out there and get it done.
Okay, you guys advanced to the district championship for the first time since when?
It's been like 20 years. It's been a while.
20 years since you guys have been in the district championship game. Do you feel any personal pride for that? What are some things that your teammates took from that game that you may have talked in? As we know, that kind of went bad for you guys, losing, I want to say, 52-10.
Yeah, something like that.
How did that go? As well as give us a little rundown in that game. It's one thing I was excited about, finishing your career with the touchdown. Go ahead and finish that up about how that last playoff game went.
Yeah, so that last playoff game was against Smithville. We already knew going in that they're a great team, top 10 team in Missouri. So we already knew that we were gonna have some problems against them offensively.